excited to meet you. So for my first question, what inspired you to bring your career path in connecting these two Abrahamic religions?
Thank you. It's glad to be here. I'm having so much fun at
Yeah.
BBYO International Convention.
Mhm.
You know, the way I understand religion is never in a parochial sense that you are limited. Your moral imagination is limited to your own religious faith tradition. I take my religion very seriously, and I appreciate and respect people who take their religion seriously. But in addition to deepening and having strong roots in your own community, I think there is a calling to make these cross faith, cross cultural engagements as meaningfully as possible. I suspect some of the pieces of the puzzle in understanding God, having God's presence in your life, you don't have all the pieces in any religion. Like, in addition to being rooted again in one religion, we have to see what we can learn from other wisdom traditions, God's manifestation through other faith traditions. This is a religious and spiritual commitment. It's an act of prayer when I study Judaism, Christianity, and other faith traditions. This is one. The second, Jews and Muslims, we have problems. Jews and Muslims, we have issues. There are so many forces. There are so many bad faith actors, I would call even evil forces, trying to divide us, trying to polarize us, trying to convince us that we need to be our eternal enemies. And for those of us who don't believe that, for those of us who believe Jews and Muslims have a lot to work together for, we can build a common civilization as we have in the past, we have to work as hard as these evil forces and bring ourselves together. So I have a religious and moral commitment. I believe my study of Judaism, Jewish theology, Tanakh, Halakha, is making me a better Muslim in my own faith tradition. And I believe Judaism and Islam in our religious form should provide some inspiration, healing, and to our divided and wounded communities. Religion cannot only be a force of division and hate and bigotry. Religion can also be a source of reconciliation, bridge building among Jews and Muslims. That's why my entire career has become focused on this particular issue.
Would you say learning the Quran would improve our Judaism?
I believe so. I wholehearted, because in my world, just very quickly, I grew up in a very anti-Semitic environment. Before age 15, I was sufficiently and despicably, disgustingly anti-Semite. I have been trying to recover from this from that on. And my ability to study Torah, my ability to study Hebrew scripture, my ability to tap into rabbinic wisdom, or learning Yiddish, and it healed me. It allowed me to take the poison of anti-Semitism out of my system. And beyond that, it also showed me in so many ways, there's a beautiful term in interfaith relations, holy envy. I am full of holy envies. When I learned the way the Jews daven and pray, the way they connect to God, the unique articulation of glorifying God's name in the Jewish sense, it made me a better Muslim. And I'm sure that's a reciprocal process.
Going off of that, how can Jews be better allies to the Muslim communities around the world?
First of all, one has to recognize that Jewish brothers and sisters, our siblings, have been an incredible ally, especially in North America all along. When there was a Muslim ban, all of them, without any hesitation, rushed to the airports and protested. And many, many Jewish sisters and brothers poured resources. Many lawyers volunteered, helping Muslim immigrants, helping them in the immigration process, etc. I think we do a better job as Jews and Muslims when the threat is coming from our common enemies, when white supremacists and Nazis, who equally hate Jews and Muslims, when we know how to sort of be in solidarity against the common enemy. Where we need to improve in our allyship and partnership is when the problem comes from each other. When there is a rising Muslim anti-Semitism globally, but especially in American society as well, the toxic energy of the Middle Eastern conflict between Israelis and Palestinians is spilling over to North America. And so many of my people, my Muslim brothers and sisters, they don't know what is criticizing a political conflict and what is crossing the line into anti-Semitism, increasingly becoming vulnerable. And not to the same extent, thankfully, but there's a similar anti-Muslim bigotry forces within the Jewish community. that we do not know how to do well. I think our allyship requires us not only to unite against a common enemy, but also find out within ourselves we have problem. We have problem. I made this incredibly clear after Colleyville incident, tragic, when a anti-Semitic Muslim terrorist held people hostage, threatening to kill them. And in my social media outlets and various media platforms, I just called my own community saying, look, so many of the horrific, hateful messages that this Muslim terrorists believe is commonly spoken in Muslim communities. We can't be standing on any moral ground without pushing back, filtering out, and condemning and weeding out these anti-Semitic voices and elements within the Muslim community. This is what I can say myself. I think if we do this well, I know many of my Jewish brothers and sisters will take the anti-Muslim sentiments within the Jewish community as well. That's where area of growth is. It is expected of us. It's easy. It's quite honestly cheap for Jews and Muslims to be allies against white supremacists and Nazis. That's not. It doesn't take too much work. But the real moral call and moral imperative and responsibility is to also find out what elements within us are dividing us, pumping hate and racism, and in what way we can build better and stronger immune system in pushing these elements out of our communities.
Well, that leads perfectly into my next question. As you know, recently anti-Semitism and Islamophobia have been very much on the rise. What do you have to say to young Muslims and Jews all around the world for dealing with this hate?
Yes. I would say, in short, don't take this rising Islamophobia and anti-Semitism lightly. Our history has shown things doesn't become physically violent overnight. Usually discourse, something like what we are experiencing today, it collectively dehumanizes Jews and Muslims, and the violence follow after this. So we shouldn't underestimate this rising Islamophobia and anti-Semitism and fight against it in every form and shape. And as I said, anti-Semitism is easier to fight for Muslims when it's coming from non-Muslim circles. But there's a problem within ourselves as well. Similarly, Islamophobia, it's easier to fight when it's coming from outside. But what about the Jewish communities and Jewish voices and Jewish individuals involved in Islamophobia industry that needs to be taken very, very seriously? So I don't trivialize this. You know, I live in part of the country where these kind of problems are. I drive my son to his boarding school and I see flags and images and symbols and signs who are screaming to my face that I am not fully human, I am not fully American citizen. So I take this very serious, and there are ways in which we need to fight, and we need to fight together. In order for me as a Muslim to fight Muslim anti-Semitism, I need Jewish allies and friends, because I can't do this by myself. And my Jewish brothers and sisters need our help to defeat Jewish Islamophobia as it exists in the Jewish community.
So I thank you so much for coming and interviewing and speaking.
My pleasure.
I hope you get to...
My pleasure. Thank you, BBYO. Don't give in to despair and apathy. We have all we need to repair Jewish-Muslim relations, except moral courage, commitment, and empathy. Let's work together.